Hello and welcome. My name is Tejal. My pronouns are she and they. I'm coming to you from the unceded lands of the Tongva, Chumash, and Kitch people, colonially known as Los Angeles, California. And today's practice is slow poses and philosophy. In this practice, we spend some time with the philosophy of the Yoga Sutra and then try and weave that into our asana, our poses. So I'd like to introduce you to Sutra 136 yet again, or maybe on your first time. And Sutra 136 is kind of really nearing the end of chapter 1 of the Yoga Sutra, of which there are 4 chapters. This first chapter is called Samadhi Baddha. Samadhi meaning bliss, Baddha meaning chapter. And in this chapter of bliss, we're really given a high-level overview of what is yoga, why do we practice, what can we gain from yoga, what can yoga provide, what can we offer to the practice, and what is inevitable when we practice, what kind of never goes away. In Sutra 136, we are offered a way of practice, one single way of practice. And it is embedded in other options for our practice, which makes us realize that the yoga practice is accessible. There are so many options with which to practice and move towards the final results of bliss. Sutra 136 is about inner illumination. So I'll read you a little more about this sutra. Vishoka va jyotismati. Vishoka va jyotismati. Vishoka meaning without sorrow, va meaning or, and jyotismati meaning luminous or full of light. So when we put that all together, it can be translated as, or the luminous state which is beyond sorrow can control the mind. So the practice that we're being offered is one that will help us arrive to a luminous state. In that state, we have moved beyond sorrow. We are no longer consumed by any emotions that are tapped into sorrow: grief, loss, suffering, hurt, pain, anger, wistfulness, regret. We are beyond sorrow towards the luminous state. This sutra tells us that only at the luminous state can we achieve a balanced state of mind or a sense of control of the mind. And that a method to achieve that state is by concentration, but not any old concentration, not concentration out in the world or with anything that comes up and we run towards it. The type of concentration that comes either on sound, very specific type of sound, or on the center of the eyebrows. In Sanskrit, this is called bhrumadhya, the center of the eyebrows. And this inner illumination is very calm, serene, deep, and peaceful. All of those words are the same words that we can use to translate the concept of shanti, tranquility, peace, calm, deep, serene. It is taught to us that the concentration on the center of the eyebrows can guide us towards deep focus, deep concentration. It can bring us towards a place of serene light. So in our practice today, I'd like to invite us to focus first on the space between the eyebrows. So however you're seated, resting, or lying down, start to center your focus into that physical location. And you might close the eyes, you might keep them open. It's really up to you the way you wish to practice your focus on bhrumadhya, or center of eyebrows. And then as you take that focus, let's try and incorporate it into our asana practice. We'll do this in a couple ways. And the first way I invite you to explore this focus in asana is through a hands and knees position. Spread the fingers, wrists below shoulders, hips right above knees. Take any movement you might wish to kind of warm up or loosen into this place. Remembering that slow and steady movement helps to lubricate the joints. There's a physiological response that gives us more glide and more padding in all of our joints when we move slow and smooth. Our joints are surrounded by something called synovial fluid, and this fluid responds to impact by hardening. So when we think of jogging on concrete, that high impact actually serves to harden the synovial fluid around the joint to kind of dampen the impact. But when we move in this slow and fluid way, we can keep that fluid really loose, really runny in a way. And then as you come into hands and knees, just notice the pressure you're putting on the wrists, and if you could balance that out by pressing more into your fingers and palms. This might help you to stay with palms and fingers spread, but if you have any discomfort, you can always come onto your fists directly below your shoulders. From this position on all fours, I want to invite you to take a moment with your feet towards one another and just pressing your hips back to your heels. They don't have to touch, and if there's any discomfort, just stop before you feel pain. And then start the practice of focusing on the point between the eyebrows, Bhrumadhya. First, you can simply focus on the physical point, right? If you start to feel any energetics associated, any calmness, any sereneness, any peacefulness, you might even tap into what we call Ajna Chakra, your third eye center, which is a connection to other energies. But first step first, try and move your hips forward and back to your range of motion by adding in a focus on the space between the eyebrows. And if you feel like that's going all right for you, you might take this to child's pose for a moment. You can spread your knees wider if you like, and practice and play with releasing the head towards the earth. If it doesn't release easily, fluidly all the way down, you're welcome to construct something with your blocks and your bolster to guide that, resting. You don't need props. You can also use stacked fists. The idea here is to find contact with the space between the eyebrows. So you can feel the presence of an object pressing gently in. And then when you lift your head, you have the memory of that pressure. Remember that point, and then go ahead and step your right foot back. Notice how the body maybe shifts to the side to accommodate that extended leg. Try to rebalance so that your hips are parallel to the earth, and raise your right foot. Bend your right knee. And then again, focus on that point between the eyebrows. Start to arch the back and draw the heel towards that point between the eyebrows. Start to move in the opposite direction. And maybe the knee crawls towards the chest. Maybe it comes through the arms. Maybe you physically even tap to that point between the eyebrows. So 2 to 3 more times in tiger pose or Vyagrasana, noticing that focus on the point between the eyebrows. Notice how your movement is dictated now by the focus on that space. If you ended up moving slow and steady, you're also creating a lot of fluid movement through your spine. and potentially opening upper back. Let's go with the other side, remembering that our spiritual focus is on the third eye center, but more importantly, let's play with the physical focus. Let's just get that part down. Physical focus on the point between the eyebrows. Breathe with a bent knee, left heel towards back of head, imagining a connection to that point. On your exhale, round, hug up and in. Move towards third eye center. Inhale to arch. Exhale, round and hug in. So let the point between your eyebrows, Bhumadhya, be the driver for the range of motion, be the driver for the speed of the motion. Take as many times on this side if possible, or even more if you're dealing with an imbalance, or even less on this side versus the other. And when you're ready, really sit down. Take any movements to kind of even and balance out anything that's calling to you. You might come off the wrists, take a stretch, maybe flip the wrists and press down into the floor for your stretch. And then I'm going to ask you to lay on your belly, lay on your front. If the floor is a little unforgiving, too stiff for that, you can prop yourself up on some cushions, blankets. You can move onto the couch and lay flat. You can move onto the bed and lay forward and down. So really try to explore what might work for you today. We'll spend our most of our time on our bellies now. So as you find this setup that works for you, I want to invite you to take Jastikasana. Jastikasana. And this pose is going to be excellent for a lot of physical reasons if you don't have any contraindications, and also for the purpose of finding focus at the space between the eyebrows. So in Jastikasana, you want to lay fully extended, and then first things first, interlace the fingers and let your thumbs come back behind the skull. You might even run them up the back of the neck to those two grooves at the base of your skull. Release the forehead. See if you can connect to that space between the eyebrows without crushing your nose and passage of air. And then let the weight of the arms and the thumbs gently tractioning in the back of the head just kind of press and draw away from the shoulders. Your chin might be creating a double chin. Your neck might be resisting. Remember, we don't want to move into pain, but sometimes a stretch can feel very surprising. So work to differentiate what is pain, what is new, what is interesting sensation for you. Over time, you might widen out your elbows and let yourself settle in and be here now. Natural and rhythmic breathing. Let the weight of the body really melt into the earth. Allow this darkness to overtake. And then you can assess whether it's a tool that helps you towards more focus of Bhumadhya, or space between eyebrows, that helps light up that inner illumination, removing all the energy that's moving towards external activation, or if there's any adjustment needed to be made. You might stay here, or if you like, come into Advasana, which is arms fully extended, outreached, and the forehead still resting down. Legs still extended out. At first, breathe in to reach long. And as you exhale, melt into the earth. Advasana, a reverse Shavasana. Physically, this posture can be really beneficial for anyone with a slouch or rounded shoulders, anyone needing a full back stretch. It's gentle in nature. And of course, it may feel different for you. So here you can continue with your natural and rhythmic breathing. But if you're finding that focus could be better using a mantra or repetition of a symbol or a sound or a phrase, you can incorporate that into your breathing and into your mental focus pattern. You might even notice tops of feet, armpits, side of rib cage. So there's a lot that might be showing up. And can you still bring focus to that space between the eyebrows? Notice if that physical tapping in can help induce a further state of peace, calmness, serenity, tranquility. You're welcome to continue exploring, or press yourself onto forearms and gently switch to roll onto your back. I'll just walk us through a couple knee bends into the chest, but if there's anything else you need to release your back or to adjust from what we've done, you're welcome to take that. If you'd like, you can join me in just bringing one knee into chest. And then here we can add another way to move our body and connect with Brahmadya. So go ahead, rise up through head, neck, and shoulders. Draw a knee in towards chest and body, and maybe imagine the connection or tap the connection. When you're ready, change other side. Hugging around the leg, drawing head, neck, and shoulders up, curling one side into the body, knee into the forehead. Noticing if that connection feels clear or other. And when you're ready to release, come to lie on your back, taking any equipment that you need to settle into your Shavasana or final resting pose. And then noticing here in this final rest what the connection to Brahmadya feels like now. Less clear, more clear than before. Maybe it's become apparent to you that having the physical touch point at the space between the eyebrows can help in furthering an inner illumination or a state of mind that is more calm, more deep, serene, and beyond sorrow. The sutra and practice also guides us towards the knowing that this physical body is simply another tool that we can use as we move further down our journey of exploring a more peaceful existence, a more blissful existence. Come back to your reflection on this sutra. What image comes to mind? Does it invoke a connection to physical self, the space between the eyebrows? Does it invoke a connection to a spiritual energy center like Ajna Chakra? Does it invite deeper states of calm, peace, and relaxation? Continue to consider how this practice shows up for you as you start to open and close the fists, wiggle the toes, circle the ankles. You might stay resting on your back through the end of this practice, or you might join me stepping the feet onto the ground, making your way over to the right side, using your hands to press up to a seated posture. And as we start to close down our practice, the invitation here is to take with you anything that has served you and to leave behind in our care anything that no longer serves you. Take with you that which will help you move beyond sorrow and leave behind that which keeps you in sorrow. You might raise the arms overhead and let the hands come together, palm to palm, or place the hands on the body. So if your hands are palm to palm, you're in Anjali Mudra, or a gesture of offering to these practices of yoga, your teachers, and all those who came before, keeping these practices safe for our continued study and benefit. I invite you to take a moment and offer gratitude to yourself, a bit of thanks for showing up today just as you are, and sending some of that out to those who have joined the community today to practice alongside you. Finally, we'll connect to the land to honor its bounty, to remember our ancestors and the indigenous stewards of this land for their gifts and wisdom. And I invite a moment of silence for us to acknowledge the history, struggle, oppression, and unwilling sacrifice of many of us who have walked this land. May we work to repair harm and end suffering for all beings. And let's close with a message of peace. Om, then Shanti 3 times to acknowledge our interconnectedness and peace in all beings. You might listen or join. Inhale to begin. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you so much for your practice, and thank you for allowing me to share mine with you.